I never thought I'd become invisible to my own family. But here I am, 67 years old, sitting in my living room, staring at my phone, realizing my daughter-in-law, Amanda, has blocked me, not just from her phone, but from every social media platform, every messaging app, every possible way a person can disconnect from another in today's world. And as painful as that is, what hurts even more is that my son, Mark, allowed it. He didn't defend me. He didn't even bother to send me a message to explain. I stared at the screen for what felt like hours, rereading the user not found notification every time I tried to open Amanda's profile. Then I checked Mark's, and the same message popped up. I wasn't blocked by mistake. This was intentional. This was a choice. Hold on a moment before we move forward. Let us know where in the world you're watching from. And if you're loving these stories, don't forget to hit subscribe. Tomorrow's episode is going to be absolutely mind-blowing. My hands were shaking, but not from anger. At least not yet. It was that same old feeling, that quiet ache in your chest when you realize the people you raised, the people you sacrificed everything for, see you as disposable. I felt small, humiliated, and confused. It wasn't always like this. I spent most of my life supporting them both. When Mark and Amanda got married 11 years ago, I was thrilled. I offered to help them with the down payment for their home. I co-signed their mortgage. I paid for the boys, my grandsons, private school tuition when Mark's job got rocky, for a while. I covered their medical bills when Amanda needed surgery 3 years ago. I never once asked for anything in return. Not even a thank you. I did it because that's what family does. Or at least that's what I believed. But as the years passed, Amanda started changing. She went from being sweet and considerate to cold and dismissive. It started small, snide comments here and there about how I hovered too much or how I was too involved. Then it became bigger. She'd plan family events and conveniently forget to invite me. Birthday, parties, holidays, even Sunday dinners became something I'd learn about only after seeing pictures online. Mark. Well, Mark just followed her lead. He always was the type to avoid confrontation, and Amanda knew it. She controlled the narrative, and Mark just nodded along. He didn't stand up for me. He didn't stand up for himself either, if I'm being honest. Still, even with the way things had become, I never expected this. Blocking me? Cutting me off completely? What could I have possibly done to deserve that? The answer came faster than I imagined. That afternoon, while I was still trying to process everything, my neighbor Ellen stopped by. Ellen and I aren't particularly close, but she's the kind who always knows what's going on. "Did you know your son and Amanda are heading to Hawaii next week?" she said, leaning against my front porch rail like she had no idea she was about to drop a bomb on me. I blinked. "Hawaii?" "Yeah," she nodded. "Big family trip. Saw Amanda at the store this morning. She was talking about it loud enough for half the town to hear. She mentioned how only real family is going. Guess that means..." She didn't finish the sentence. She didn't have to. My mouth went dry. I knew exactly which trip she was talking about. That trip wasn't just some spontaneous vacation. It was something we had discussed months ago when Amanda brought up how expensive everything was getting. She talked about how the kids deserved a break, how Mark had been stressed with work, and how they just wanted to create core family memories. I offered to help. In fact, I did more than offer. I made it happen. I paid the travel agent directly. I covered the resort booking, the flights for 4, and even the rental car. A total of $9,145.27. I remembered the exact number because it was the same day I transferred money from my retirement account to cover it. And now I wasn't just excluded. I was erased. As if I was never part of the plan. As if my money was good enough. But I wasn't. I went inside and sat at my kitchen table, staring at nothing. The kettle whistled on the stove, but I didn't get up. I couldn't move. I just sat there, feeling something heavy settle on my chest. Not anger, Not yet. Not even sadness. Just disbelief. A kind of numbness that didn't seem real. I pulled out my binder where I keep all my financial documents. I flipped through the pages until I found the payment confirmation. There it was. The receipt from Island Escape Travel. Paid in full. My name on the invoice. My credit card. Ending in 4831. I felt my stomach twist. How did I let this happen? How did I become the kind of person who finances her own exclusion? It wasn't just this trip. As I sat there, my mind started replaying every time Amanda hinted for help. The new dishwasher I paid for last summer. The landscaping project Mark couldn't afford in the spring. The school field trip fees, the emergency roof repair. Every little thing that chipped away at my savings, piece by piece, while they smiled, took pictures, and played house like they were self-made. I don't know how long I sat there, maybe an hour, maybe 3. Eventually, I stood up, walked over to the living room, and turned on the TV for background noise. I wasn't watching. I just needed something other than the screaming silence in my head. But then, out of habit, I opened my iPad and tapped on Facebook. The first post that popped up was Amanda's. Can't wait for next week. Family is everything. Blessed Donder family first. Hawaii bound. The caption was under a photo of 4 matching suitcases lined up by their front door. I zoomed in and saw the luggage tags. First class, first class. I never fly first class. I've never even considered it. And here they were, using my money to fly first class to Hawaii while blocking me from their lives. That's when something shifted inside me. Something real, something heavy and solid. I wasn't going to cry anymore. I wasn't going to beg for scraps of attention from people who only saw me as a wallet. I closed the iPad, walked to my bedroom, and pulled out a folder I hadn't opened in years. Inside were copies of the mortgage documents. I flipped through them slowly, page by page, until I saw it. The line that confirmed what I always knew but had forgotten. Primary owner, Margaret Thompson. That's me. The house they live in. The house they've called theirs for the past 11 years. The house I helped them buy. It's not in their name. It's in mine. For a long time, I'd left it that way because Amanda and Mark had bad credit at the time. The bank wouldn't approve them alone, so I offered to be the primary. The idea was that once their finances improved, they'd refinance and put it in their own name. But they never did. And to be honest, I never pushed it. I wanted to believe that things would get better, that they'd grow up, that we'd have a normal family. I sat back, holding that piece of paper like it weighed 1,000 pounds. And for the first time in years, I realized something. They might have blocked me, but I wasn't the one who was powerless, not even close. I didn't sleep that night. I couldn't. I lay there staring at the ceiling, clutching those mortgage documents, like they were some kind of life raft. My mind wouldn't stop spinning. Every memory, every conversation with Amanda and Mark, every little moment where I brushed off a comment, ignored a red flag, or told myself, it's family, let it go. I wasn't letting it go anymore. The next morning, I made myself a cup of coffee, sat back at the kitchen table, and opened my laptop. I logged into my online banking. My hands trembled slightly, not from nerves but from the quiet kind of anger that doesn't explode. It simmers, the kind that stays under your skin like a slow burn. I clicked through my account statements. I needed to see it. I needed to face the numbers. What $400, tuition payment for the boys' private school, last month, $2,300, roof repair on Mark and Amanda's house, $275, pest control service, $600, credit. Card bill Amanda couldn't cover back in February. The list went on and on. $8,900 to pay off their car loan 2 years ago. Another $5,000 for emergency medical expenses Amanda had when her insurance didn't cover it. I was drowning in it, page after page of proof that I had been their personal ATM for more than a decade. I leaned back and stared at the screen, How had I let it get this far? How had I become someone who was so desperate to feel needed, to feel relevant, that I handed over everything I had just to buy a seat at a table I was never really invited to? I closed the laptop. It wasn't about the money anymore. It was about the disrespect. It was about the way they had cut me out of their lives like I was nothing but an inconvenience. Like I wasn't the reason they were even able to live the life they flaunted on Facebook and Instagram. And while they were packing for their luxury, Hawaiian vacation, the vacation I paid for, they were out there telling the world that family is everything, while treating me like I was no one. I stood up, walked over to my filing cabinet, and pulled out the folder marked House Documents. I opened it again, this time looking carefully at every line. And there it was, plain as day. Property owner, Margaret Thompson. It wasn't just my name on the paperwork. The house was entirely in my name. The deed, the title, the insurance policy, everything. The original agreement was that once their credit improved, we'd transfer ownership. But guess what? Their credit never improved. Or maybe it did. But it was never about that. It was about convenience. It was easier to let me handle it. It was easier to let me be the safety net. A safety net they now had the audacity to pretend didn't exist. I grabbed my phone and called my insurance company. After verifying my identity, I asked a simple question. Can you confirm the current named owner on policy number 548329? The woman on the other end typed for a moment. Yes, ma'am. The property located at 127 Willow Creek Lane is currently insured under the name Margaret Thompson. Thank you, I said, my voice flat. That's all I needed. I hung up. It was time to make some decisions. I called the mortgage company next. Same question. Same answer. Everything was still in my name, and that's when it hit me. All this time I'd been feeling like the victim, like I was powerless. But that wasn't true. I held the cards. I always had. I just never realized it. For a moment, I just sat there, staring at the wall, trying to process how long I had let them convince me I had no power when the truth was exactly the opposite. That's when I opened another browser tab and pulled up my online banking again. I scrolled to the section with my recurring payments. Right there, in black and white, were the automatic payments linked to Mark and Amanda's bills. Private school tuition, $1,400 monthly. Utilities, $310 monthly. Pest control, $75 monthly. Car insurance, $280 monthly. Mortgage payment, $2,195 monthly. My finger hovered over the cancel button. I didn't hesitate. Cancel, 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 cancel. One by one, the little confirmation messages popped up. This recurring payment has been canceled. This payment will no longer process. You have successfully removed this scheduled transfer. Done. Just like that. It was like watching shackles fall off my wrists, one by one. Then I did something I never thought I'd do. I pulled up the customer portal for the mortgage company. I logged in, clicked Account Settings, and checked the box that said, Do not renew upon maturity. It felt strange. Empowering, but strange. For over a decade, I had taken care of every little crisis, every bill, every unexpected expense. Like it was my job, but it wasn't. Not anymore. I sat back in my chair and exhaled for what felt like the first time in weeks. Then my phone buzzed. It was Ellen, my neighbor again. Hey, she said, her voice a little too cheerful. Just saw Amanda posting pictures at the airport. First class. She tagged it, Off to paradise with my world. Family is all that matters. Can you believe that? Yeah, I said quietly. Yeah, I can believe it. Ellen hesitated. You okay? I will be, I said. After hanging up, I opened Facebook again. I scrolled past Amanda's post. The smiling family, the matching Hawaiian shirts, the cheesy caption, and I didn't feel sad. Not anymore. What I felt was something much sharper. A cold, clean kind of clarity. I spent the rest of that day pulling every financial statement, every document, every payment receipt into one big folder on my desktop labeled House. Then I called a lawyer. "Good afternoon. This is Daniel Harris," a man's voice answered. "What can I help you with?" "My name is Margaret Thompson," I began. "I need to talk to someone about property rights." "Okay, ma'am," he said. "Are you facing a dispute?" "Not yet," I replied. "But I'm preparing for one." He paused. "All right. Tell me what's going on." I explained it all. From the moment I co-signed on the house, to the thousands of dollars I'd poured into their lives, to the sudden cutoff, to the vacation I was currently funding without being invited. When I finished, Daniel was silent for a few seconds. "Well," he finally said, "I'll be honest. This is not the first time I've heard a story like this. But I will say, you're in a far stronger position than you realize. If your name is on the deed, it's your house. Period. Doesn't matter who lives in it. Doesn't matter who paid. What over the years? I felt something settle in my chest. A calm I hadn't felt in weeks. "What are my options?" I asked. "Plenty," he replied. "If you want, we can start with a formal notice, a letter reminding them who the legal owner is. If that doesn't get their attention, we move to the next step." "And what's the next step?" I asked. "Eviction," he said plainly. "It's your house. If they're not paying rent, and you no longer consent to them living there, you have the legal right to remove them." The word eviction felt heavy, but not wrong. Just heavy. "Let's start with the letter," I said. "Good choice," he replied. "I'll draft something up. I'll need a copy of the deed, the mortgage statement, and any other relevant documents." "I have all of it," I said. "I'll send it this afternoon." "All right," Daniel said. "Send it over, and we'll go from there." After I hung up, I sat back and looked around my kitchen. The same kitchen where I had sat countless times wrapping birthday presents for the boys, baking cookies for family parties, waiting for phone calls that never came. And I realized, for the first time in years, I wasn't waiting anymore. The email to Daniel was simple. I scanned every document, the deed, the mortgage statements, the insurance policies, and attached them to the email with a brief message. "All documents attached. Let me know the next step." I hit send and stared at the screen for a moment, letting the reality of what I was doing settle in. I wasn't second-guessing myself. Not this time. I knew exactly what I was doing. What surprised me was how calm I felt. No racing heart, no shaky hands, no doubt. About an hour later, Daniel called. "Got everything," he said. "And you were right. You're the sole owner. The house is legally yours. No gray area." Hearing it said out loud felt heavier than I expected, but there was no turning back now. "I've drafted the letter," Daniel continued. "It's a formal notice, very straightforward. It informs them that as the legal owner, you are terminating their right to occupy the property. I can email you a copy before I send it if you'd like." "No," I said firmly. "Just send it." "All right," he replied. "I'll overnight it to their address and email a copy for documentation." I hung up the phone and sat back in my chair. My hands were folded in my lap. I didn't move. I just sat there quietly for a while, letting the weight of what I'd just done settle. Then, I opened Facebook again. More photos. Amanda had posted a video this time. Her and Mark sipping cocktails with little umbrellas in them, palm trees in the background, both of them grinning like they didn't have a single worry in the world. Nothing like family time in paradise. Dotcher grateful. Family first. I scrolled past it without a second thought. Later that afternoon, I took a walk around my neighborhood. I'd lived here for 27 years. Everyone knew me. Everyone waved. Some of them probably heard whispers already about Amanda blocking me. Small towns work like that. I didn't care. Ellen was watering her plants as I passed. "Hey," she called. "You doing all right?" "I'm good," I said. She tilted her head a little. "You sure?" I nodded. "Better than I've been in years." And I meant it. That evening, I got a notification that the letter had been delivered to their house. Of course, they weren't there to receive it. They were still posting pictures from Maui. But the letter was there. sitting in their mailbox, waiting. I wondered how long it would take before they saw it. The next morning, I got my answer. It was 6:12 a.m. when my phone rang. Unknown number. I let it go to voicemail, then a second call, same number, then a third. Finally, a text popped up. "It's Mark. Pick up." I stared at the screen. For a second, I considered ignoring it. But then, curiosity won. I answered. "Mom." Mark's voice came through, tight, angry. "What the hell is this?" "Good morning." "Mark," I said as calmly as I could. "Don't play dumb." He snapped. "A letter? Are you serious? You're threatening to kick us out?" "I'm not threatening anything," I said. "I'm informing you of the reality of the situation. The house is in my name. Always has been." "Yeah, but—" "We live there," he shot back. "It's our home." "And yet," I said evenly, "you blocked me. You made it very clear I wasn't part of your family anymore. You and Amanda decided that, not me." There was silence on the line for a few seconds. "Look, Mom," his tone shifted, less angry, more scrambling. "You know Amanda. She gets emotional sometimes. She didn't mean it." I let out a short breath. "Mark, I'm not doing this dance. Not anymore. You can't seriously mean this," he said. "You're not really going to—" "I canceled the mortgage payments," I interrupted. "As of yesterday, and the utilities, and the school tuition, everything. You are responsible for your own bills now." "You're serious," he muttered. "I've never been more serious. Mom." His voice cracked. We can't afford that right now. You know that." "I do," I said. "And you should have thought about that before you decided I was disposable." He was silent for a long time. Finally, he said, "Amanda's gonna lose it. That's not my problem." And I hung up. My hands were steady as I placed the phone down on the counter. 10 minutes later, it started. Text after text. From Mark, from Amanda, though hers were different. Amanda didn't try to pretend. "Are you insane? You're seriously doing this? Wow. After everything we've done for you? You are a bitter, sad old woman." I didn't respond to a single one. Then the calls started again. I turned my phone off. By noon, Daniel called to check in. "Sounds like they got the letter," he said, not even bothering to hide the amusement in his voice. "They did." "Good," he said. "Now we wait. If they respond formally, great. If not, we prepare the eviction notice." "Thank you, Daniel," I said, "for everything." "Margaret," he replied, his tone softening. "I've been doing this a long time. I see a lot of families in situations like this. I just want to say, you're doing the right thing. It might not feel like it right now, but it is." I nodded, even though he couldn't see me. "It feels overdue." "That's because it is," he said. When I hung up, I walked to the window. Their house, my house, was just 3 streets over. I could almost picture the scene. The letter sitting open on the kitchen table. Amanda pacing, furious. Mark with his head in his hands, realizing for the first time in his life that there were consequences for his choices. They wouldn't be back for another 4 days. 4 more days of Mai Tais, luau dinners, and pretending everything was fine. Wondered if they had even considered the irony. 4 days on the vacation I paid for, and when they got back, it wouldn't be their home waiting for them. It would be reality. The next few days passed in a strange kind of quiet. Not peaceful, not exactly, but quiet. I spent most of it organizing paperwork, checking my bank accounts, making sure every financial string that tied me to Mark and Amanda had been cut. Utilities? Gone. Tuition payments? Stopped. The mortgage? Canceled. And with it, the auto payments I had maintained for over a decade. Daniel checked in regularly. He told me the next step was straightforward. If Mark and Amanda refused to respond formally, he would file for eviction. Legally, they had 30 days from the delivery of the letter. But if they ignored it, as most people did in these situations, the process could be expedited. I didn't bother looking at Amanda's social media anymore. I knew exactly what was waiting there. More pictures, more smiles, more fake captions about family first. I had no interest in watching people enjoy a vacation funded by someone they pretended didn't exist. Then day 5 came, the day they were set to return. At exactly 4:43 p.m., my phone buzzed. A text from Mark. "We just landed." I didn't reply. Then another. "We need to talk. We're on our way home." Still, I said nothing. I could almost picture them in that Uber ride back from the airport. Amanda scrolling through her phone, sunglasses on her head, tapping aggressively at her screen, trying to act like she wasn't seething. Mark, staring out the window, running his hands through his hair, thinking, "How bad is this really? She's not actually gonna do it, right?" I watched the clock. 15 minutes passed, 20, then 30, then the phone rang. I didn't pick up. Less than 10 minutes later, another buzz. "We're here. Open the door." I didn't answer, but I stood by the window, peeking through the blinds. I saw Mark. First, standing on the porch, phone in his hand, pacing. Amanda was right behind him, suitcase tipped over, hands on her hips, mouth moving a mile a minute. Then Mark knocked. Hard. "Mom," he called. "Come on, open the door." Then the shouting started. Amanda's voice cut through the air like broken glass. "This is insane! You can't lock us out of our own house." I opened the front door. Not theirs, my door. I stood there, arms crossed, watching them from across the street. They turned instantly. Mark started walking toward me. "Mom, what is this? What are you doing?" Amanda followed, dragging her suitcase behind her. "Seriously, Margaret? What is wrong with you? Are you having some kind of breakdown?" I didn't move. I let them cross the street. I let them get close. And then I held up my hand. "Stop." Mark blinked. "What?" "Don't come any closer," I said firmly. He looked stunned. "What are you talking about?" Amanda's face twisted. "You've completely lost it." "No," I said. For the first time in years, I see things very clearly. Mark tried to soften his tone. "Look, Mom, let's just go inside and talk, okay? This has gotten out of hand." "Inside?" I raised an eyebrow. "You mean my house?" Amanda scoffed. "Unbelievable. You got the letter," I continued. "You know exactly what this is." Mark shook his head. "You can't be serious." "I am," I replied. "Dead serious. We live there," Mark argued. "Our stuff is there. The boys' rooms are there. You can't just." He threw his hands up. "You can't just lock us out." Amanda crossed her arms. "Yeah, I think the law would disagree with that." I stayed perfectly still. "You might want to read the letter again. The deed is in my name. The mortgage was in my name. Every bill was in my name. You've never transferred it, never made a single effort to. And you know what that means? It means you've been living in my house under my name this entire time." Amanda rolled her eyes. "Oh, please." Mark was starting to panic. I could see it now, the realization sinking in. His voice got smaller. "Come on, Mom. Don't do this. Don't do this to us." I didn't answer right away. Instead, I pulled a piece of paper from the folder I had tucked under my arm. I held it up. "This," I said, "is a termination of occupancy notice. You have 30 days to vacate the property. 30 days. Or it goes to court." Mark stared at me like he didn't understand the words. Amanda took a step forward. "Are you actually evicting your own family?" "You mean the family that blocked me?" I asked calmly. "The family that went on a vacation I paid for while pretending I didn't exist?" Amanda opened her mouth, but nothing came out. Mark ran his hands through his hair again, pacing. "Mom, look, we can figure this out. This doesn't have to be. This." I tilted my head. "You should have figured that out before you blocked me, Mark. Before Amanda made it perfectly clear that I wasn't part of this family anymore." "Look, we were upset," he said quickly. "It got heated. Amanda said things. But you don't mean this. You don't. Amanda didn't even bother pretending. This is ridiculous. You think a court's going to side with you? Over your own son and grandkids? I folded my arms. Amanda, the court won't have a choice. The law is very simple. The person whose name is on the deed owns the house. And guess what? I held up the paper again. That's me. They stood there for a long moment, not speaking. Then Amanda grabbed her suitcase and started dragging it back toward the house. I'm going inside, she snapped. I don't care what letter you printed off Google. You won't get far, I said. The locks have been changed. She stopped, dead in her tracks. You're kidding. No, I said. I'm not. Mark's mouth fell open. You changed the locks? 2 days ago, I replied. Amanda turned back, her face red. You're out of your mind. No, I said. I'm done. Mark paced, hands on his head. What about the boys? Huh? What about them? You're just gonna kick your grandkids out of their home. I stared at him. You should have thought about that before you decided their grandmother wasn't part of their family anymore. Amanda let out this bitter, sharp laugh. Unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. Then her voice dropped lower. Fine. You want to play hardball? We can play. But you better lawyer up, Margaret. I already did, I replied. That shut her up fast. Mark stepped forward, voice strained. Mom, come on, we don't have anywhere else to go. I didn't blink. That's not my problem. For years, everything was my problem. The mortgage, the bills, the repairs, the school fees, the car, the groceries, the vacations. Every single time they needed something, it was my problem. Not anymore. I looked at both of them, dead in the eye. 30 days. After that, the sheriff handles it. Amanda shook her head and stormed off back toward the sidewalk. This isn't over. Mark stood there a little longer. His mouth opened like he wanted to say something else, but no words came. Finally, he lowered his head. I didn't think you'd actually do this. Neither did I said. But here we are, and then I turned, walked back inside, and closed the door. The next few days were quiet. Not the kind of peaceful quiet that comes from a restful life, but the heavy kind. The kind where you know the storm isn't over. It's just circling, waiting. I didn't hear from Mark or Amanda that entire weekend. No calls, no texts, nothing, which told me everything I needed to know. They were scrambling, panicking, trying to figure out their next move. Daniel called me on Monday morning. Have they responded formally? He asked. No, I said. Not a word. Expected, he replied. We'll give them until the deadline. If there's no response by then, we move forward with the eviction filing. Simple process. You've got every legal right. It's clean. You own the property, and they have no rental agreement, no contract, no rights. There it was. Again. That confirmation. That validation. After years of being treated like a convenience, like a backup plan, like something useful but disposable, someone was finally telling me I was in the right. I hung up and went about my day. Groceries, laundry, cleaned out the spare bedroom, things I hadn't had the mental energy for in weeks. Even as I folded, towels, the image of Mark pacing on the sidewalk that day played over and over in my mind. Him realizing, too late, that the person he thought he could walk over wasn't willing to be walked over anymore. It was almost funny. Almost. Then Tuesday afternoon rolled around. I heard a car pull up outside. I walked to the window and pulled the curtain back. It was Mark, alone. No Amanda, no kids. Just him. He stood there for a minute, not moving, just staring at the house. Then, finally, he walked across the street toward my front door. I let him knock twice before I opened it. Mom, he said, hands in his pockets, head lowered like a scolded child. Can we talk? I stood in the doorway, arms crossed. About what? Look, Can I come in? No, say what you came to say. He sighed, rubbed the back of his neck. I know you're serious. I get it. Okay? I get it now. I didn't say anything. But the boys. His voice cracked a little. They don't understand. They keep asking why they can't go home, why their stuff's locked up. They don't get it, Mom. I stayed silent. And Amanda. Look, she's not handling this well. I raised an eyebrow. Oh, Amanda's not handling it well? He flinched. Okay. Yeah, I deserve that. You both do, I said, flat. He nodded, looking down at the sidewalk. I know. For a moment, neither of us said anything. Then he sighed again. Look, I came here to ask if we can work something out. I didn't move. Work what out, Mark? 30 days. It's not enough, he said quietly. We don't have anywhere lined up yet. The rent prices around here are crazy. We thought maybe you'd, I don't know, give us a little more time. Help us out, just until we figure things out. I stared at him for a long time. You want me to help you? He nodded. Yeah. The same way you and Amanda helped me? By blocking me? By excluding me? By pretending I don't exist while you flew first class to Hawaii with money I gave you? His jaw clenched. Yeah, I know how it looks. It doesn't just look that way, Mark, I said. It is that way. I made mistakes, okay? His voice got sharper, defensive. I should have stepped in. Amanda. She gets controlling, and I let it happen. I let her convince me that, no, I cut him off. Stop. Don't put this all on Amanda. You're a grown man. You made your choices. You could have told her no. You could have stood up for me. You didn't. He closed his eyes for a second, breathing through his nose like he was trying to stop himself from snapping back. I know, he said finally, softer. You're right. For a second, the smallest part of me wanted to soften, to let that mother instinct creep back in. But I shoved it down. Hard. What exactly are you asking for? I said. 60 days, he said quickly. 60. That's it. Just give us until then. I swear, after that, we'll be out. You won't hear from us again if that's what you want. I didn't answer right away. I just looked at him. 60 days, I repeated. And then you're out. No negotiations, no extensions. He nodded rapidly. Yes. Yes, I swear. And you pay, I added. His face shifted. Pay? Yes. Rent, utilities, everything. Starting today. Mark opened his mouth like he was about to argue, but then closed it. He knew he didn't have ground to stand on. Okay, he said finally. Okay, yeah, we'll pay. I'll have Daniel draft a rental agreement, I said. You'll sign it. 2 months, no more. He nodded again. Thank you. Really, thank you. Don't thank me, I said. This isn't a favor. This is a business arrangement. For 60 days, you are tenants, not family, not anything else. The words hit him hard. I saw it. The way his shoulders tensed, the way his jaw tightened. But he didn't fight it. Not this time. Yeah, he said quietly. I get it. I stepped back. I'll let you know when the paperwork's ready. Then, I closed the door. I stood there for a long time afterward, hand on the doorknob, breathing. It wasn't satisfaction. It wasn't relief. It was something heavier, something like grief. Because this was what it looked like when you finally realized that sometimes family isn't family. That night, Daniel emailed me the draft. Standard rental contract. 2 months. Full payment of rent, utilities, and a clause that failure to pay results in immediate termination. Ready for signatures. I replied with one word. Send. The next morning, the contract was delivered to Mark and Amanda. It only took an hour before my phone buzzed again. This time it was Amanda. No greeting, no softening. You're a monster, I didn't reply. Amanda didn't stop at just one message. After, "You're a monster," came a dozen more. Some angry, others sarcastic. A few were downright insulting. "Congrats on ruining your own family. Hope it was worth it. Maybe now you'll finally get the attention you clearly need. It must be so sad being this bitter at your age." I didn't answer a single one. I didn't even open them after the fifth or sixth. The satisfaction Amanda had always gotten out of provoking a response wasn't going to happen this time. She could type all she wanted. But I wasn't reading anymore. The rental agreement was signed 2 days later. Mark came alone to drop it, off at Daniel's office. Paid the first month's rent and utilities in full, $2,800 total. Daniel forwarded me a copy of the signed contract and payment receipt with a short note. All documented. Let me know if anything changes. Otherwise, they've got 57 days. 57 days. That was it. I kept the countdown in a small notebook I placed on my nightstand. Not because I wanted revenge, but because I needed a finish line. Something that reminded me that this period, this bitter chapter, was temporary. Amanda didn't look at me for the first 3 weeks. I passed her once at the supermarket. She was in line, holding a box of cereal and texting with one hand. She saw me. I know she did. But she looked right past me like I wasn't standing there. Didn't look away. Mark, on the other hand, started softening. I'd get occasional updates from him via short texts. Payment for week 2 sent. We're replacing the filter in the AC today. The boys have a school event next Friday if you're interested. I ignored most of them. The one about the boys, though. I read it twice before putting the phone down. I didn't go. It wasn't easy. I loved those boys, but I wasn't going to be pulled back into that cycle. Not again. Not when the only time my existence seemed to matter was when it was useful. And then, 3 weeks before the lease would expire, something changed. Mark showed up at my door. I saw him through the peephole. He wasn't carrying anything. His hands were in his pockets, head tilted slightly down. I opened the door halfway. "What?" He looked tired. Not the kind of tired from lack of sleep, the deeper kind. He paused. "I wanted to say thank you." I didn't answer. For giving us this time, for not just throwing us out on the street. "You're paying," I said flatly. "It's not a favor." "I know," he nodded. "But still, I just thought you should hear it." I waited, unsure of what else he had to say. "I've been thinking a lot," he continued. "About everything. About how things got here. About what I did. What Amanda did." I raised an eyebrow. "You mean the years of taking and never once offering anything back?" His jaw tightened. "Yeah, that. Or the blocking, the lies, the vacation with my money while pretending I didn't exist." He didn't try to defend it. He just stood, there, shoulders slumped. "I let it get out of control," he said quietly. "I should have stopped it a long time ago." "You didn't," I replied. "I know," he said. I didn't say anything else. I waited. "I think we found a place," he added. "It's a little smaller, it's outside of town, but it's what we can afford." "Good," I said. He nodded again, as if unsure what else to do. Then he looked up, and for the first time in months, there was no anger in his face. No entitlement. Just weariness. "We move in the 28th, he said. "You have until the 30th. We'll be out before that." I nodded once and closed the door. When they finally left, it wasn't dramatic. No slamming doors, no police. No screaming. Amanda didn't even knock to say goodbye. Mark sent one last text. "We've cleared out. Keys are in the mailbox." I waited an hour before walking over. The porch was empty. The car was gone. The curtains were pulled back. I stepped onto the porch and reached into the mailbox. The keys were there. 2 of them, labeled in blue tape, front door and garage. I unlocked the front door slowly. The house was mostly empty, clean, but cold. They'd taken the furniture, the wall art, the kids' school projects that used to hang on the fridge. All of it. Nothing of theirs was left behind, not even a toothbrush. I walked from room to room, the living room, the kitchen, the boys' bedrooms, Amanda, and Mark's old room. I stood there for a long time in the center of it all. The house was quiet. It didn't feel like a home anymore. But for the first time in over a decade, I wasn't standing in someone else's mess. I wasn't cleaning up behind anyone. I wasn't solving anyone's crisis. I was just here, alone, in my house. That night, I slept with the door unlocked, not because I forgot, but because for the first time in a very long time, I wasn't worried about who would walk in or what they would take. A week later, Ellen dropped by. "I saw the moving truck," she said, holding a bag of cookies. "It's done, huh?" "It's done," I said. She sat down at the table, looked around. "You okay?" I nodded. "I will be." She smiled, placing the cookies on the table. "Good, because I think it's about time you started thinking about yourself." I didn't argue. For once, I agreed. Later that night, I poured myself a cup of tea and sat in the living room, staring at the spot where Amanda used to drop her coat every time she visited. The place where Mark would sit and scroll through his phone while I made dinner, the chair where the boys used to play with toys I bought for them. None of that was mine anymore. None of it had ever really been mine. But this house, this space, this silence, that was mine, and it was finally enough.